The way it works is you do the thing that you're scared shitless of, and then you get the courage afterwards, not before. It's the way it works.
Welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with my very special guest, Troy Karnes. Troy and I we met Matt a few days ago, but I saw you and I felt like I met you on LinkedIn Live. And April had
Yeah.
you and Will and Brian
Yeah.
on a LinkedIn Live that I was really blessed to be able to catch. I mean, I wasn't there live with you, but I caught it afterwards. And I thought these are humans that I actually want to get to know more of. And so you're the first one to come on, and everyone else has reached out too. And so I cannot wait to introduce my audience to you and the rest of you that were in the room that day. Author and a book to be coming out soon. I can't wait. I saw the cover, super excited about it. No silver bullets. Author, speaker, cancer survivor, and in active recovery.
Exactly.
And it's so funny. I'm going to share a story and then I'll hand it over to you because I know you have a quote to kick us off with. Is that when you and I chatted on the intro call, one of the things you were really excited about was the fact that you got to stay home this past weekend without your wife and kids because you were watching the dogs. And your level of excitement was so much when we were on the intro call. I mean, literally remember I had the Tom Hanks flash in my mind where it was Risky Business or something, where he's sliding across the entry room floor, with his shirt on and the socks and the whole bit. Did that actually happen? Did you do that this weekend when everybody laughed?
In my mind, a million times, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
actually, I actually steamed our floors. I like cleaned our floors.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Okay.
It's
Well,
kind of
then
the
you could
same.
you could slide. You could
Yeah.
slide on
Now
those
we could. Yeah, now we could.
plain floors. So you have a quote for us, and so I'd love to hear that, and then kick off our chat, sir.
Okay, so this quote I love and I share a lot. It's from a movie. It's from a movie, Three Kings. If your audience hasn't seen this movie, go watch it. It's awesome. The only setup they need to know for this quote, though, is it's an army movie, it's a military movie, and
Yeah.
George Clooney plays like the grizzled special forces vet who's kind of seen it all, done it all, everything else. And in his group, there is a rookie young soldier who's really scared they're about to go into a firefight. And he pulls the kid aside and he says, the way it works is you do the thing that you're scared shitless of, and then you get the courage afterwards, not before. It's the way it works. And I've found that to be true so many times in my life, but it also really reinforces something I believe deeply, which is that action breeds conviction.
Mhm.
And so often I think we want to feel something first and then do it, right? Like do it if it feels right. But a lot of times you have to do it in order to get the feeling.
Mhm.
And that is, I think, underrepresented a lot of times, but something that I have, again, found incredibly true throughout my life. And so
Yeah,
that kind of
it's
wraps it up.
well, and it goes back for me, and I shared this with you before we hit record, is that I went through, and I don't know if I told you this part, an 8-day emotional intelligence boot camp. And so anyone who knows me knows that I take like bullet points from things, right? Some people are paragraph people. I'm a bullet point person. This
Sure.
resonated with me because one of the things was along those same lines is face your fears and do it anyway. And I think part of what you're talking about, Troy, I think is important for all of us. Instead of just the fear is there and it's this freaking wall and we can't get through it, acknowledge it. It's like one of those pesky people that, they're like, like a child, why? Or did you do it? Or the voice needs to be heard. The fear needs to be acknowledged, right? To
Yeah.
say, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you're here, you're real. I see you, I hear you. There's no hungry tiger. We don't need to
Right.
run from anything. But
Right.
okay, and now let's do it. What is the path forward? And that's gotten me into more opportunities to grow and learn than I can even count on two hands. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today had I not faced fears of things that just scared me to where I was just paralyzed.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it for you?
It, I'm sorry. It, I'm sorry. It, 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 Well, I think there's a couple things. One is that the other thing you get, so you get the courage, you get the feeling out of it, but you also turn on your figure it out switch.
Mhm.
And I think it's a way to show yourself you're competent
Mhm.
and that you're able to figure a lot of things out, even if you don't know step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you start, that's the hardest part because that's where the fear is. Then you get into it and you're like, oh, actually, you know what? I can figure this out. And if I don't know, I probably know someone who knows. It leads to community where you can ask people and get help and things like that. But yeah, if you are waiting for the courage to do something, you're just gonna wait forever.
Mhm.
And
I
it's
think,
not just courage.
yeah, pick your battles too. You don't have to run into the firestorm, right?
Right.
If you don't have to run into the firestorm. So, I mean, it's
Yes.
like, don't just do it for, I'm not going to go and jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Okay. And there
Right.
are plenty of people that I have a friend that
Yeah.
that's what she wanted and she went through it and there was excitement, fear, the whole bit. And if that's your thing, go do it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that we have to do it anyway on everything that pops up that we acknowledge being a fear, because it may not be the stuff that we need to do.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. Pick your battles because yeah, there are plenty of other people to jump out of airplanes. Like the skydiving business will thrive without you. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
they don't
fine.
need me. They do
Yeah, they
not.
don't. Yeah, they don't
I
they don't
love
need you.
that. What did you talk about? The switch, the
Oh, the
how to
figure
do
it
it,
out switch.
the figure it out switch. You and I were
Yeah.
talking about Amazon because we were looking for courage and thought maybe Amazon sold courage. They don't, by the way.
Next day.
Books about it.
Yeah.
Books about it. But I wonder if they have a figure it out switch. That might be kind of fun.
Listen, if nothing else, they'll have like the equivalent of the Staples, the easy button.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will have a figure. Yeah,
I
yeah.
do have one of
Somebody
those.
is selling this
I
somewhere.
do have one of those. Um, Share, if you don't mind, a little bit
Sure.
about, because I packed in a lot in the intro, right? Author, speaker, cancer survivor. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And I don't mean to just stop at the cancer survivor. So, author, congratulations. Speaker, congratulations. Cancer survivor, congratulations. And in active recovery, congratulations.
Thank you.
What stands out for you that it would be kind of cool to start or to share with people listening? Because it's a lot of things, by the way, that you've accomplished.
Thank you. And where to start? I mean, the thing that ties all of that together is for most of my adult career, I was none of those things.
It's
All of
interesting.
these are fairly recent developments. I have, as we're recording this, if everything goes well, I will have 4 years on Sunday of
Congratulations.
sobriety.
Yes.
So, and and I got cancer well, who knows how long I had cancer actually,
Well, I was
but
going to say,
I got diagnosed the same year. They found my tumor 98 days into my sobriety.
wow. Talk about testing your sobriety.
Here's what I tell people is that there's sort of this saying or belief or whatever that you will get tested on your way out of rehab and that was mine, but that is a like if there were an evil scientist in a dark layer somewhere thinking of relapse scenarios, this is the thing that he would come up with.
Hmm.
And massive test. And I'm incredibly grateful that I sorted out my addiction beforehand because if I hadn't, I would have drank my way through it and who knows.
Mm.
But in those 98 days, I was able to put together a mindset, a handful of tactics and systems that kept me sane and sober
Hmm.
through a pretty wild process of getting my shoulder blade cut out of me and getting a new one put in. And it's been and that's what's in the book really is kind of
Yeah.
the mindsets and the systems and it's stories from my life, a lot of research. I have 30 pages of endnotes in the thing
Oh, wow.
and the systems that helped me process all of the things that came with that massive test. And it turned out, at least in my experience, to be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. So I'll go back, and I've not been to the point where, it was that for me, it was just smoking, but I had hypnosis that worked for me. So this was back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
I smoked a pack and a half to 2 packs a day,
Yeah.
and I wanted to stop, right? I tried, like other people, try to quit a number of times. And a friend of mine were sitting eating nacho Doritos, in the office. We were visiting, catching
The
up.
best Doritos, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, I
The
know.
best Doritos. Yeah.
I would do them with sour cream, and stuff, and they made their own dip. But I remember we had a pile of them on his desk, and we're eating, and no judgment on that. Okay, we're just going through, and and it was San Diego, and he's like, "There's a ad in the paper." This is back when there were papers, right, in the late 80s,
Mm-hmm.
for this hypnotherapy session to stop smoking. It's just $39. Did you want to go? So he and I both smoked.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah. So we sign up and we go to this thing to get $39 back in the late
Uh-huh.
80s.
Okay.
150 people in this room. We were
Uh-huh.
not the only people that saw this ad in the paper. Okay.
That guy
So
saw a pain point
yeah,
and delivered. Yeah. Okay.
here it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I know now more about hypnotherapy than I knew then, because I went through a certification program. But in that moment, he did all this pre-work, this talking. We went and had a final cigarette, and we got done. So, and I walk out and I'm thinking, did it even work?
Mm. Yeah.
Because I didn't feel any different.
Okay.
But he said, clean everything up, da 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 da, and I really didn't have recollection about what was actually said. Certain parts of it, but not during the hypnosis. But I wasn't out or anything. You're not during hypnosis. You're in a trance. But we're in a trance when we drive to a location that we've always driven. We get into a trance. And so I got tested, different level testing, right? And typically anyone who's been a smoker or is a smoker now knows that when you drink, you smoke even more. In fact,
Mm.
when people who don't even smoke when they drink,
Yeah. Right.
you
Yeah.
know. So it wasn't that night, it was the next night. I went to a party, someone's birthday party, and we're out drinking and everything else. Not 1 ounce of desire for a cigarette, nothing.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I say that, and people are going, Michelle, how does that even compare to his story about getting cancer 98 days into recovery? Here's why. My sense is, because it was for me, I tested myself. Because I went through that test, I had a sense of confidence and surety that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And my sense is that something similar may have happened to you.
Yes. Certainly after, if I could go through that ordeal
Mhm.
without leaning on alcohol, I could face I I feel very confident that I
Mhm.
could face everything, and I think when people get overconfident in their sobriety, like the back of my mind is tingling a little bit because that's
Oh, I
that's
agree.
when
No, I
people
agree.
fail.
Yes.
But I do feel confident that I have the tools and the community to support me through any challenging ordeals that I have
Mhm.
yet to face.
Yeah.
And I won't need to lean on alcohol to do it.
Yeah. I think it's this, what comes to mind, and it's a good call out, right? Is because what we don't want to end up with is this cockiness
Right.
of, oh, I can go back because I've got this beat kind of thing, versus I no longer am fearing everything that may surface. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
1,000,000%. So people who recently get sober talk to me a lot, and it's like the 90 days to 9 months or a year are an incredibly dangerous time for a lot of
Mm.
people's sobriety
Mm-hmm.
because they start to feel really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol's out of their system. Maybe that they have some more tools, so they're able to cope with some more things, and they start feeling really, really good. And it also then tends to be a time when they let some of the systems that they've been using fall to the side
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they're thinking, I don't need these anymore because I'm feeling so good.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the other angle there is to remember, like, you probably feel so good because you're using these
Hmm.
systems. And then when the systems go away, their sobriety can can suffer and they get more tempted, and a lot of relapses happen because people do get so overconfident that they say, I got this, I don't need
Hmm.
these tools anymore, and they
Yeah.
walk away from them. And it's not
Yeah.
just sobriety, it's in all kinds of things, right?
Well,
If
I
you
was
want a
going to say
sales
it's
example,
leadership. I think about
yeah.
leadership and behaviors and stepping in to be a different kind of leader, right? You can go into a system, and I'll give you an example is that leaders are going, okay, I'm going to be a respectful leader. I'm going to tap into my team. It's not this way, it's this way. We're all on the same level. And then you go into that leader, and then you go into an organization to where the person you report to is completely command and control, fear-based, intimidating, all that stuff. Well, it doesn't take long to revert back to that if you don't have other stuff in place to be able to keep you marching along that way. It happens in life all the time. So when you're
Yeah.
you're talking about sobriety, and I'm thinking, and leadership, and whatever else you want, diets, health, all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
can do really great and stuff. Can you? Can you resist when people are bringing in cakes and cookies and donuts and everything else into work? I
Hmm.
can because I've never been attracted to sweet stuff. But you put chips and salsa and stuff there, I don't know if it'd be as successful. Maybe now, but I mean, it's that
Sure.
kind of stuff.
It's that. Another good example that I see all the time in my business consulting is sales, right? So people go out and they prospect and they prospect and they prospect, and then they get a bunch of clients. And then as soon as they get a bunch of clients, they stop prospecting, they let that system go. And then maybe a client churns out or something, and then they
Mhm.
say, oh my God, I stopped prospecting, so I don't
Yeah,
have anything in the top of my funnel or in my
yep.
pipeline because I stopped the process because I had so many sales coming in. So yeah, when you're successful, the point is you're probably successful because of your systems, and you should keep them up.
So that's a really, I love that because here's what comes to mind for me is the whole idea of number one, having gratitude, right? For whatever's happening, what's going on. I think that's extremely powerful. But the other part of it I hadn't really thought of before, Troy, until you said it, is what got me here? What needs to stay in place to maintain whatever this is, right? And to your point, a lot of times, unless we're intentional around that, we may just go, I I don't need this anymore. Really? What makes you say that?
Yeah,
What makes you say that? Yeah.
it's a good question. Yeah, start folding that in with your clients because it's a great question, and I
Hmm.
think a powerful reframe.
Hmm. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that like that before, but it is true because I think naturally I think about structures, and I was having a conversation earlier with someone else just around community, right? And there's different definitions people have about community, tribe, whatever it may be. And a lot of people around courses that you sign up for, oh, we've got the community to keep you. That is not I don't lean in toward those things typically. That's not, and I think a lot of it is because my personal thing is I have a lot of swim lanes going, so a lot of different things. Like you've got this laundry list of who you are and what's going. My sense is you're similar to that.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to attach time to just one. But when I look at it, when I think about community, community for me isn't attached to this learning thing that I've done, but it's attached to the humans that I have around me, that it's not an official community, if you will, air quote, but that's the community because there's so much like wealth and diversity and just all the stuff in there that I'm not going to get by just going, oh, here's my one thing, right? Attached to a program.
Yeah, your community doesn't have the neat label of
Mm-mm.
the course or the whatever or the
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Those exist in some places and they can be incredibly useful and powerful,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
school is like that in a lot of ways, right?
Oh, and
Um,
in every way, school is like that.
fair, yeah,
In
fair in
every
every way.
way.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of forced to go into
Yeah.
this building with everybody and
Yeah.
then they become your friends and that shapes who you are and everything else. But then as we grow up and we have jobs and families and everything else, like our community does become something
Mhm.
different, and we have
Yeah.
different communities, right? Some of it might be like, oh, these are the people that I do sports with, these are the people
Mhm.
that I see movies with, these are the people
Yes.
that I do whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, that is a if you if you can naturally collect the people with the interests and the same
Hmm.
goals and desires and things like that, it's great. And that can be super helpful. But yeah, just saying I have community doesn't make it
Yeah. It may
powerful and
not.
attractive or
Yeah.
yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. As I say that, Elizabeth, the other coach, and I were building a community. And for me,
Hmm.
it's that awareness about I want to build something I want to be a part of. And
Hmm.
so what does it look like to bring in that variety, that diversity, to keep it, so it's not, and it's the same thing with this podcast, right? Leadership sound bites. And people go, well, what do you talk about? And it's like pretty much everything concerning humans, right?
Yeah, right, right.
So that we've got better awareness and we can unlock and be better leaders to ourselves. Yeah. Um, you said the first part of your adult life, you didn't do any of those things that I listed that you do now.
No.
Um, what prompted the change? I'm curious. And the other thing that comes to mind for me that I'm curious about is um, something around the thing of what are you most excited about next? Two completely diverse themes, but those are two questions I just want to throw out there because they're on my brain about you.
Yeah, sure. What happened? It's a little bit of a Rube Goldberg machine. Uh, but in most of my adult career was selling alcohol.
Okay. Oh, there you go. There's a connection there.
So I was
Okay.
in the wine, I was in the wine industry, and then that went to whiskey and craft distilleries and, sales leadership in that industry.
Okay.
And when I stopped drinking, it lost its luster a little bit.
Well, and it's not a smart thing to still be in. I mean, if that's the thing, right, where I'm going to say your Achilles heel at whatever
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
it would be not well advised for you to stay
Well,
in that space.
yeah, listen, there are lots of people who get sober and stay in the industry because I had a manager who's so smart. I still talk to this guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember a phone conversation. So I worked for this little company that got bought by a big company, and then he was my manager there.
I have a visual
And
of the thing eating the little fish. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, the big fish eating the little fish, or a lot of times I say I got sucked into the Borg,
Yeah.
and we had a team meeting about how we do business, expense reports, boring corporate stuff, right?
Mhm.
And in expenses, he said, listen, if you guys have events or whatever, and you need to take a cab home, take a cab home because if you get a DUI, it's the end of your career.
Oh, okay.
Be smart.
Yeah.
But if you're taking a cab more than once a month, then we need to talk about your drinking because
Mm,
there's nothing in this job that requires you to drink.
mm.
And in my head, I said, what are you talking about, old man? Maybe that's how it works when you're slinging the grocery store swill that you're doing. But if I'm going to be one of the cool kids, like I have to partake.
Yeah.
He was right. I
Yeah.
was wrong. I didn't figure it
Yeah.
out until later. So lots of people do stay in the industry and they're very successful, but it didn't have the draw for me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I still do some sales consulting for clients and like I'm pretty separated from any of the consumption parts of it.
Yeah.
And in that point, it's just like a business that I know really well.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of friends in the industry, but it's, I mentioned to you before, like it's the golden age of getting sober. And there's actually a lot of acceptance in the industry for people who stop drinking.
Hands down.
So that is
Yeah.
good. And I want to keep that going. But yeah, it
Hmm.
wasn't, like I just had other things in my life that were pushing me in a different direction.
Yeah.
And part of that was I started writing. It's part of my sobriety and part of my mental health and everything else. And it's something that I've returned to. I wanted to be a writer when I was younger, and I didn't see a path forward there. I didn't know how I was going to make any money or make a career out of it. Sales paid better, so I
Yeah.
went into that. and now I'm coming back around to that, which is really fun and pretty interesting for me. And then the other big thing was that I have a son on the spectrum, and when he got diagnosed, like he was having trouble in school, and it was very clear that somebody needed to have a little bit more freedom and
Oh
flexibility
yeah.
in their schedules. So yeah, so I left my 9 to 5, and I told my wife to well, I didn't tell her. We made the decision
Yeah.
because she had the insurance, which was a big
That's a big
important
deal.
thing.
It's a big deal.
But it
Somebody needs
was
to have that. It does help.
yeah, but it was really like let's take that weight off of her so she could just focus on work and
Yeah.
do that, and she didn't have to answer the call from the school in the middle of a meeting and whatever else. I was
Hmm.
like, I'll take that on. And that was a decision that we made together, and a really smart one. And it opened up the opportunity for me to do more writing, and to turn it into a career.
I love
And
that.
so it was, getting sober kind of was the beginning. His my son's
Hmm.
diagnosis came before that. Then I got sober, and then I got cancer the same year. And this is all, 3.5, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
And
everything
oh, by the
shifted.
way, we were in COVID still.
When I got diagnosed in 2021
Hmm.
with cancer.
You would have gone
And
through the book. COVID was 20 for the most part, but still 21. We weren't out of it. I mean, we were not out of it. There's no
so
way. But
so
yeah.
here's how I found out I had cancer. Lots of people, when they get sober, they want to get healthier, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like exercising and stuff like that. And then one morning, I'm doing my bicep curls, and I felt my shoulder, like, it didn't pop and it didn't snap it, but it was like a crackle, and I kind of felt
Oh,
it slightly buckle.
yeah.
And it's a feeling that I had a year before that. And
Mm.
at that point, a year before, I just did, rolled it out and said
Yeah.
what every guy in his mid 30s would
Yeah.
say, which is like getting
Yeah.
old sucks. And
Yeah.
I forgot about it and felt better in 2 weeks. But now that I was getting smarter or more healthy mentally,
Hmm.
I said, well, I'll go get this checked out. Maybe I need physical therapy. Maybe I tore a rotator cuff. Like, I don't know. I'll
Yeah.
go get it
And well,
checked
that's what
out.
you're thinking, especially at your age. You're like, I'm a young,
Exactly.
healthy guy, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what happened. I just popped something.
Yeah. So I go in, pretty typical checkup, right? Height, weight, blood pressure. They take an X-ray. Guy looks at the X-ray and he says, "Oh, I'm going to need an MRI to see what's going on here," which I completely expected to
Oh
happen.
yeah.
And then he said, "I'm going to mark it as an emergency so that the insurance company doesn't slow us down here at all."
Oh, okay.
And it was 2021. It was in the
Right.
summer, and I justified that through the lens of COVID, which
Right.
was they probably want to get all this stuff done in the summer before the winter comes and COVID spikes, and then maybe
Okay.
they can't do this kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But I did clock it, right? Like,
Yeah.
emergency is one of the words that I don't like my doctors using,
Yeah. No.
but it did allow me to get that MRI the same day. So 2 hours
Oh,
later, I
wow. Okay.
was
Like,
crawling.
wow.
Yeah, 2 hours later, I was
Oh,
in
they
the
fast
MRI
track.
machine.
Okay.
They fast tracked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he called me at 5:30 that night and said,
Really fast tracked it.
I
So he read it. He
I
got the
am not
results.
the yeah, and he said, I am not the doctor for you. You need somebody that deals with rare orthopedic tumors. I said, "Yeah, send me to that guy." And he called me, he said, I have two people in mind. I'll call you back in the morning and let you know who to go to. And he called me back at 8:30 the next morning. So I was that guy's last call one
Wow.
night and his first the next morning.
Mhm.
And it was less than a month before I was on the operating table.
What's cool is when they take it seriously, to where it's like, and then the stuff is in place to do all that stuff. Because there are some situations to where that doesn't happen at that rate or that pace or anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And
I had a friend this summer who got a diagnosis and told me I had been going in and telling him, like, I'm not feeling right, I'm not feeling right, but he didn't fit the demographic in terms of age and everything else.
Mhm.
And Uh, and then he had to push and fight to like get the tests that then, he's on the phone with the Mayo Clinic, right?
Hmm.
So that wasn't my experience. My experience was I ignored it and delayed it to the point where then it was serious enough that people moved
Hmm.
really fast. And I write this in the book, but it was a little bit of a Rube Goldberg machine, and I'm incredibly grateful for all of the people who took action at that point,
Hmm.
because you, the point here is that small things can have outsized effects, right?
Hmm.
Something that starts so small, like a tiny clump of cells, then all of a sudden kicks off this thing where hundreds of people from, not just me, but and my friends and my family, to the medical team, to the people processing all the insurance, to the people
Hmm.
who then design my prosthetic and everything, like all jump into action. And it's really uplifting to
Hmm.
know how many people just like jump because I had a tumor. And
Hmm.
I'm grateful for the roles that they all played in it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it happened super fast.
Um, I love that. And I think the message in that, and you've said it in a way, but not explicitly. It's like it was the small little thing that you kind of ignored, right? And what I would say to people is, and I've heard it a number of times, don't attribute something that you're feeling to something else. Like, hey, I'm getting older. Oh, that just sucks to get in. It's just how it is. Your body's telling you,
Yeah,
Houston, we have a problem.
yeah,
Listen to it,
yeah,
and even if it, I mean, people are going to go, yeah, but they're going to tell me it's just gas or it's whatever. So go find out. Because I think that's the whole point of managing this stuff. So it doesn't get to the point where your shoulder gets removed or they have to cut out whatever. um, you know, Pay attention, mark the stuff, just and don't blow it off, because I think a lot of times we tell ourselves it's something else,
yeah.
and it's not. So if you just have a different baseline of, I'm going to feel healthy and fit, and I'm not going to have pain when I get up, and I'm not going to have a foggy brain, and everything's going to be fine, regardless of my age. So that anything else outside that, you're going to go, wonder what's going on over here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whole thing of, wow, I'm successful and everything's great. I wonder how I got here. I wonder what needs to stay in place. The same kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
If something goes a
Yeah.
little off, then question that. Question that. So yeah, because too many times people just accept it, and don't.
No, I mean, in this story in my life, I had a surgeon who told me I had big, scary, dangerous, rare cancer, his
Yes.
words. And for most people, the doctor is just going to tell you you're getting old. Great. That's going to be awesome news. But if you have something serious, the faster your team can start working on it, the better off you're going to be. True for
Bingo.
cancer, true for business, true for anything else. The
Yeah.
sooner you go after it, the
Hmm.
better off you'll be.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Pay attention to it. Yeah. I didn't hear the rest of it, but I also want to respect your time. And so maybe you'll share it when I ask what one or two things you want people to walk away with.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
what one or two, no, you're good. This is all great. What one or two things you want people to walk away with? Because this has been, you and I could chat for a long time. And then it would
Yes.
be, the War and Peace novel podcast.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Well,
that's
there's,
fun.
yeah, it piggybacks off something you just said, which is like pay attention to it, this idea.
Yeah,
And the basis of like my routine around HALT, and maybe I'll start there, which is
yeah.
that this is the framework of the book, but it's that nobody makes good decisions when they're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Mm, I like that.
This is not just true for addicts. This is true for
Yeah.
everybody with a pulse, right?
Hmm.
And so I have a journal. It's not a diary. It's a way for me to check in with myself on a daily basis and to make sure that I'm paying attention to all these things. So it takes me 90 seconds, and a lot of it is, how did I sleep last night? And
Yeah.
I rank it on a scale from 1 to 4. So how did I sleep? How was
One
my
to
mood
four?
yesterday? Oh yeah, I want to talk about the 4-point scale.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, okay, you can get my attention, but go ahead.
Yeah, the 4-point scale, we'll just dive into it now. The 4-point scale is the best. Everybody should adopt this because the
Troy
four
said so.
point scale, the 4-point, well, here's why. The 4-point scale dispenses with the Midwestern politeness of the 7 out of 10 or the
Okay,
3 out of 5, which
right.
doesn't give you anything actionable and is just a way to sit on the fence.
So I
The
assume it
four,
doesn't have a neutral. There's no neutral.
well, no decimals.
Okay.
So you are picking a side, 1 to 4, that you
Yeah,
cannot be in the middle.
yeah,
So rate your restaurants on this, rate movies on this, rate whatever on this, because it will fall on, either awful,
yeah,
1,
yeah,
badass,
yeah,
4, or could have been better, or yeah, pretty good.
yeah. It was okay. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah. But like, it's okay is like, would you like a 3 is I would recommend it to a friend, and a 2 is I tell them to skip it,
Okay.
right?
And it does take away this neutral because it takes away neutral. When I think about it, it's like 1 to 5, you've got a neutral. You
Right.
literally have a neutral. 3 is neutral.
Yeah. Yeah, you can not pick a side with a 5-point scale.
Yeah,
And a 10-point scale is a 5-point scale in disguise. Like
yeah.
nobody says less than 5, right? So it's really a 5-point scale, and
Well,
then
and the
people pick
only ones in
7.
an NPS score that matter are your nines and your tens.
Yeah, right. So
So, so why bother?
right. So that's one benefit, which is that it chooses you to pick a side and then gets you
Okay,
more comfortable picking a side, because the more often you do it, even with little things,
it's easier.
you get more comfortable because people like neutrality. Listen, I don't like conflict, fully admit that. But so sitting on the fence is usually pretty comfortable for me.
Yeah.
But if you have to pick 1 to 4, then you can't sit on the fence. So that is feature number 1. But you
Okay.
actually displayed, without even knowing it, displayed the second big benefit of the 4-point scale, which is
What?
that everybody is conditioned to answer a 1 or like a scale of 5 or a 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Nobody is conditioned for a 1 through 4,
No,
which
when you
means
said
that you,
1 to 4, my brain expected you to say 1 to 5. I'm 1 to 4. What is this?
so when you ask people, somebody says to you, oh, I got this awesome restaurant you got to try out. You got to say, well, rank it 1 to 4. And then they'll say, it gets them to stop. And then they think. And so you'll get a more honest answer out of them than if you ask them to give it like a 1 to 5,
I love it.
because they're not used to answering that question. So you'll get more honesty out of people.
Well, a thoughtful response.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
They'll put
a
thought to
more
it.
a more thoughtful response. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, sorry, I interrupted and we went on the one
That's
to four.
okay.
What are the other
Yeah.
things in the 90 seconds that you do?
So, yeah, rate my sleep.
Okay.
How'd you sleep the night before? 1 to 4.
Okay.
How was your mood yesterday? 1 to 4. And
Okay.
then I write down what I ate. Like I don't count calories or anything,
Right.
but your food and your mood are tangled up tighter than a kitten who's had a ball of yarn for an hour. So,
Mhm.
a lot of times for me personally, if I notice that I start to eat worse when I have something going on emotionally.
Yeah.
So, what'd you eat? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Was it on plan 1 to 4?
Yeah.
And then, did you achieve yesterday's goal? So I write down a goal like, hey, what do I want to get done today? It's just one thing, and something you have to get done that day. It can't be,
Yeah.
so you nail it down, and all of that. And then, oh, and I weigh myself every day as a way to like keep in
Wow.
touch with my body.
Okay.
And so that, running through all that is like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Then the part that takes longer is the journal, right? So I have a prompt
Yeah.
every day, and that I'll spend 10 or 15 or 20 minutes writing about. But that process the writing process is incredibly important for me. And I have a system that works pretty well. One of the reasons why writing, and you don't have to write, you can speak it into a voice recorder or whatever,
Mhm.
but here's a good framing for people. We think 4,000 words per minute.
Mhm.
Right. This comes from Ethan Kross's book Chatter, which is awesome.
Mhm.
4,000 words a minute. It's so fast. It's too fast to understand anything. As a frame of reference, if you're listening to this conversation as a podcast, you'd have to put it on 29.6 speed. Now, if anybody wants to take 1 second, just try 3.5 speed and tell me if you understood
I can't, I
anything.
can't, I can't.
You can't.
I
No.
two, I'm like, I'm not hitting the points. Yeah.
Right. So two you can't and 29.6 impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
4,000 words a minute. No, we speak at 120, maybe 135 words per minute. So
Mm.
much slower.
Yeah.
We type 40 words a minute. If you're really fast, maybe 60.
Mm-hmm.
And then you write at 13 words per minute.
Holy cow.
Snail's pace.
Okay.
So the act of transforming your thoughts to language helps you understand them better because you have to slow down and examine them.
Hmm.
And some of that comes from research from Dr. Penna Baker. He's at the University of Texas. A
Mm-hmm.
super smart guy. His book is awesome. And I came to it after I started journaling, but it's a little
Yeah.
confirmation bias, but it's super smart.
Yeah.
That's the reason why it's important to process all of it, not just by thinking about it, but by getting it out in words, one
Well,
way
and
or another. So again, yeah.
it reinforces stuff. Years ago, and I don't do it really anymore, and I don't know why. Every once in a while I'll do it, but I wrote poetry. I remember when I was like 16, it's like 8, 10 poems came out in one night. My mom is like, "Where are these coming from?" I said, they're out coming, out writing. Here they are.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
But it's interesting when I look back as an adult on some of those because I kept these things from
Mm,
decades ago.
that's fun. Yeah.
And one section that I remember that I wrote, I was 16 at the time, and
Mhm.
it's there, but it isn't. You'd never know it at first. The glistening glow that's always been cursed. That's silent shimmering from inside out. The sign says whisper when you want to shout.
Mm,
Now,
wow.
that's the chunk of it, right? And I look back as an adult and I'm going, there was a lot happening
Yeah.
with me at that age and the whole stuff going on. Could I have known it then? No.
No.
I was 16. But I
Yeah.
think part of it is the whole journaling or writing or getting out whatever that expression is. Then we're able to look at it from a different perspective. And
Right.
there's power in that, and a lot of times you might do it too. You'll write and you'll go back later and go, this is really good. I wrote this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, that's the beauty of being able to take a look at what's on paper and do that and do that. Yeah.
It's
So
powerful to be able to go back to it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's why it's important. And then one of the systems that I put together that's really helped me is I came up with 7 pillars, the 7 most important things in my life, and I do one a day, one topic a day, and I cycle through it on a weekly basis. And the benefit of doing that is it has tremendously cut down the resentments that I hold for myself and for other people
I love that.
because I'm not going to go a week before I examine that topic again. And some
Hmm.
things you think, okay, I'm bummed, upset, frustrated, whatever, but it's a little thing. And some are, many are, and they get tossed away.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a thing that we stuff and hold. And if it comes up more than once or twice, then you know you have to face it, which is a
Hmm.
topic that we were talking about before. And so on Mondays, I write about aspirations. It's I want to be my own hype person. Mondays, get yourself up. We have, 4,000 words a minute running through our head,
Yeah.
and lots of them are negative. So if we can intentionally put some time into our lives where we say good things about us, then we can train those things to come up more often throughout the week. But you can't ignore the hard things or the challenging things. So on Tuesdays, I do challenging emotions. On Wednesdays, I do big projects. I call it Slay the Dragon. I find that people with big projects smile a lot.
Yeah.
And big projects also are really good at teaching us about the little things.
Hmm.
And so I reflect on those on Wednesday. And that changes sometimes. For a while it was my sobriety, then it was my cancer, then it's my book. It will
Hmm.
be something else next. Um, Thursday is my marriage.
Hmm.
You can develop much better skills in your relationships if you are clear about your own wants and desires and needs.
Hmm.
On Friday, it's work.
Hmm.
Get all of it out before the weekend. Protect your weekends. Like clear the junk out on Friday. On Saturday mornings, it's the kids. I want to have a good weekend. I want to remember the good things. I want to get clear on the challenges that I'm having as a parent. Everybody does, so don't feel bad about it. But if I can get a little bit more clear on how I'm feeling in those relationships, I think they're better off. And then on Sundays, it's aspirations. Sundays are a great day to dream big. And I found that I actually cut down my Sunday scaries by journaling about aspirations on Sunday for a couple reasons. One, I remind myself of all the cool stuff I'm going to do that week and like why I'm working to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And because, it's sort of like one of those things where if you feel like you've done it or you've got it or you got it down, then it's not in the front of your brain all the time. So it's like, okay, I've already thought about work. So then it can go away for the rest of Sunday and I'll just enjoy my day. And then on Monday, I started over again. And they're different prompts every time. I have different prompts every time, but they're the same topics.
Are these things in the book too?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So
yeah.
Get your freaking copy.
Get your
Thank
book.
you, thank you, thank you.
Of course.
I would love to have you back again, especially after the book comes out, so we can chat, because I'd love to hear, you're gonna hear how it impacted people. And I would love for you to share that, because it will. My gut is it will. So
thank you.
Troy,
Yes, I'd be happy to come back. You're great.
Yes,
This is so good. Thank you for reaching out to me. That was like an awesome note. It was like I saw your live stream with April, and I'd love to have you on. Like that's incredibly fulfilling, and I appreciate the space and the time and everything else.
Yeah, no, you're just a freaking cool human, and I love your little anecdote stories, the references that you want to do and stuff. I just smile, so it's cool.
I love smiles.
Thank you. Until next time, this is Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and Troy. Please like, share, subscribe, and have a freaking awesome day. Thank you.
Yeah, see ya.
All right. My God.